April is Autism Awareness Month, so I'm making you aware of my autism. I have my anime shirt, I have my cargo pants. Let's go. I was diagnosed with autism, Asperger's actually to be more precise, when I was around 3 years old in the early 2000s. I was a early diagnosed kind of girly, and everyone told me, wow, it is so rare that you have autism, Caitlin. Girls don't normally have autism. It is a boys thing. It's really rare that you have autism. Girls don't have autism. Wow, you are so rare. Now it seems like every single girl has autism. Not just autism, but AUHD. I invented AUHD, thank you very much. I told both my psychiatrist, therapist, and pediatrician that I think I might have ADHD because I had a lot of difficulties that did not fit under the autism criteria that with school and blah, blah, blah. And they told me, no, that is not correct, Caitlin. You wear cute little outfits, you're a small girl, you are polite, you do not have ADHD. And I'm like, just because I'm not a young boy who uses his yogurt tubes as a weapon in the classroom does not mean I don't have ADHD. I did, even as a young kid, think ADHD equals being a young boy running around throwing chairs. But then I really was like, oh, it means you have trouble listening. And I was like, okay, when I think about it that way, I think that I have had a lot of trouble listening, because I remember telling my grade 4 teachers, oh my God, grade 4, what a time, that I cannot read this book. I cannot read novels. It wasn't that I could not read novels. It was that I would read the first 2 sentences and then I would drift off and think about something ahead of me, like, oh shoot, I need to start over again. So I just read picture books, and then the teacher's like, she's retarded. But really, I was looking at these picture books, I was going deep within my mind palace, thinking about all sorts of mumbo jumbo. I also think I might have some sort of other learning disabilities, possibly some, what's the name of that one? Anyways, I found a new learning disability. I think I'm gonna be a trend starter. Dyspraxia. I think I have dyspraxia. I'm going to be a trend starter. I'm going to make dyspraxia a thing. Maybe also some kind of visual spatial disorder thing. And I know people are going to be like, that's called being a woman, Caitlin. No, I have trouble finding things in the fridge. I have trouble finding which app I want to use on my phone. I only have the 2 pages. I'm going back and forth. I'm like, where's Google Maps? I can't find it. There it is. Or there might be something I'm looking for. I'm looking for everywhere. And it might be a very long time later. And it's literally right in the counter right in front of me, and people will be like, oh, that happens to me all the time, Caitlin. That's not abnormal at all. But I feel like once you see this in action a few times, you'll realize that this is kind of weird. Also, I had a hard time tying my shoes as a kid. I did not know how to tie my shoes until I was in high school. Well, I think it was also kind of an autistic thing, because people would be like, okay, here's the loop, put the string around the bunny rabbit into the hole, and my literal mind did not like this analogy. And also it's like, what hole? There's 5 different holes I could potentially put this through. I don't like this. So I eventually found this step-by-step graph on Reddit, and where you have the 2 loops and you turn it. Yeah, so that's how I tie my shoes. Also, I had a hard time with clocks. I don't know, they made me anxious, hand clocks. People would explain to me and then I would get it, but then I would forget and I would just see this thing and all the numbers, and that just, it was freaked me out. Also, word searches, again in grade 4, wonderful year, I was given a word search for homework, and it took me 3 hours, and I didn't even get it done, and I was so upset, and the teacher was like, this should take you no more than 10 minutes. So one of my parents sat down with my teacher, was like, this took her 3 hours, she's really dejected. And then my grade 4 teacher was like, she's retarded. I've had a couple late diagnosed, self-diagnosed girlies be like, wow, that's so lucky that you were early diagnosed, Caitlin. You must have got the help you need. I did not get the help I need. And in fact, I was stifled. And once again, grade 4, wonderful year, my teacher gave me 2 spelling booklets, the grade 2 one and the grade 4 one. And she said, which one would you like to do? They did not consult my parents on this whatsoever. And I said, the grade 2 one, because I can get it done really fast, and then I can do whatever I want and hang out in my mind palace. So I did that, and then I realized the next year that, oh my goodness, I'm very much behind and I didn't learn anything, and I've had trouble with spelling ever since. Also, I found myself separated from the other kids because the teacher's like, it's already hard enough to deal with this big class, and then we got these weird kids too, so if we can get the weird kids and put them over here and separate the not weird kids, and just, that would be great. Wasn't great for me, because all the other kids would be like, hey, she is with the weird kids and she's being shuffled over here to do weird things, so she must be weird and we should not talk to her. Also, if someone has a disorder that mostly affects their social skills, you think you'd want to put them with kids who excel socially, not separate them and put them with the kids who also don't excel socially. Doesn't make much sense. So I might as well had a big flashing red sign that said retard on it all throughout my schooling. Anyways, now it's cool to be autistic. In fact, it's cool to be a girl who's autistic. And girls have been making tons of money being autistic girls, making autistic girl content, and I have completely missed the boat. I have missed the biggest cash grab of my life. Just missed it. Like GameStop, missed it. And around 2016, something like that, I told my friend, hey, maybe I should make a YouTube video about having autism. And he said, no, that is a really bad idea. Nobody will care. And in his defense, I think he was just, trying to defend me from being harassed on the internet and made fun of. But if I would have done that, I would have had a Netflix show by now. I would have had a Netflix show, so don't listen to other people. In my head, I'm like, oh, he's neurotypical. He has good social skills. He knows what he's talking about. I should listen to him. What do I know? I'm just autistic. I had the whole thing. I was autistic. I wore the funky little outfits. I did the art thing. I liked frogs. Frogs were my special interest. They are my special interest, in fact. It's my favorite animal. And now there's this whole subculture of quirky girls who like frogs, who are autistic, who wear like neat little outfits and all that stuff. Hello, there's a movement. It's as though it was designed specifically for me, and I missed it. I missed the boat. I missed the cash grab. Now we have all these autistic basic bitches making money, and I'm out here with nothing. Well, I started this whole thing. AUHD, I was told you can't have autism and ADHD at the same time. You're not allowed to have those two different diagnoses. The DSM won't let you. Now AUHD, boom, the biggest thing ever. My desk in elementary school, oh my God, just papers shoved here, there, everywhere. My locker, things flying out, papers, binders, same thing, room always messy. I'm terrible with organization, and I don't know why. Because it's not that I don't want to be organized. I literally try, and everything just goes into these little ant piles, and then these little piles end up forming in corners around the home, and then I try to put them away, but then the piles just end up moving around in circles, and I end up getting nowhere. And then I get a friend over to help me organize, and he just put this in this and put it in here, put this in this and put it in here, do that. I'm like, that looks so easy. Why couldn't I have done that? But when I try to do that, I just look at this mass of things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know where to put things. I don't know what to do, which sucks because I'm a maximalist and I like collecting things. I am a hoarder, which is also an autistic trait. AUHD is wonderful because it literally absolves you of almost all responsibilities. Messy apartment, AUHD. Can't get a job, AUHD. Bad with money, AUHD. Don't want to go outside, AUHD. Can't socialize, AUHD. Really rude to everybody, AUHD. Also, autism is a nice little pipeline to get that government money, that disability to chango. Honestly, the best thing about having autism. Everything about autism sucks besides the ability to get money. It's not a lot of money, but it's something. Though I'm not knocking the whole disability money thing, it is really hard for autistic people to get jobs. If you look at what interviewers see as red flags, void during your job interview articles, it's pretty much just DSM-5 for autism, just all the things. It's just autism, autism, autism. Somebody with a profound intellectual disability is more likely to probably get hired at an entry-level job because it's more obvious that they're disabled. Usually they're friendly, they're happy to be there, they're easy to exploit. So employers are like, oh my God, this is great. We get somebody who's extra hardworking, more loyal, and it makes our company look great. But as far as somebody with Asperger's autism who just seems like a regular person, besides elderly people think they're rude and uncomfortable, it's maybe not. When I was a teenager, I saw some statistic that said 80% of people on the autistic spectrum are unemployed, and this freaked me out because I'm like, I want to thrive, not just be employed. And apparently not even 80% of autistic people can do that. I did not feel good about my autism growing up. When I was first told I had Asperger's, I was in grade 4. Wow, what a fantastic year that was. And my mom was like, you have Asperger's. I'm like, Asperger's? And I imagined this really obese man in McDonald's eating a burger and then like shitting out like this little glob of poop, and I was the little glob of poop. I watched Mean Girls at probably a too young of age, and I wanted to be one of the girls in the little cardigans and the little plaid mini skirts who rolled the skull and had at least 3 boyfriends. I remember I told my mom, you only had 1 boyfriend at the end of high school. I'm going to at least have 3 boyfriends. And then, lo behold, I had no boyfriends, thought I was a lesbian. Now I had a husband. I didn't have any boyfriends, is the point. No boyfriends. There weren't many good autistic role models. There's Temple Grandin, the cow woman. Everyone was like, oh, like Temple Grandin, the woman who speaks to the cows. And at that age, I did not necessarily find that to be like the coolest role model. So now I'm like, I love Temple. Temple's great, love the cows. And then there's the guy who made Pokemon. Now that's pretty cool. But then the rest of them would be like, oh, terrorist, stalker, autistic. So I was out there in my small town wearing my vintage dresses, being like, I'm the only autistic girl out here, the only one who wears vintage dresses, the only one. Then I remember seeing this episode of Oprah with my mom, and she's like, autism, it's a disease. And that made me feel bad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm diseased. But then I was told that, oh, that's autism, you have Asperger's. Autism is different. Autism means you can't speak and everything's bad. And then so I was confused, but I'm also like, I don't like Asperger's because of the whole like, Asperger thing. And so then I was like, I have autism, but then they're like, Caitlin, you can't say you have autism, you have Asperger's. That will make people have the wrong association. But now apparently Asperger's, you can't say you have Asperger's because Asperger, I guess, has Nazi affiliations or something. Now it's just like autism spectrum disorder. It's now autism level 1 to autism level 3, but that is such a big spectrum. There's kids that are like, I like trains, and then there are kids who are like banging their heads against the concrete and can't speak and need to be like cared for extensively for the rest of their lives. The vast majority of autistic advocates are high-functioning, like, little ladies who are like, autism is great, and we should not cure autism. Autism is cool. But then I think about the kids with, like, extremely severe autism who are in extreme distress most of the time, who regularly assault their parents, who give almost everything to their kid, who will never really make any of the most basic milestones. Extreme needs autism seems so different than level 1 Asperger's. I wonder if they should even be in the same umbrella. Speaking of nonverbal severe autism, what happened to Carly Fiddlestein? Carly, autistic Carly, she spoke on the computer, she had her own show, she was on talk shows, she had a Twitter. What happened to her? She just completely disappeared. And I tried to find out what happened to her, and it's a little disturbing. I read that she is receiving electroshock therapy to try to improve her mental health. But then that impacted her ability to communicate, and she said that her brain was feeling all foggy, and her tweets and posts, it was all jumbled up. And then she posted shocking details of her dad's boyfriend molesting her and how it wasn't the first time she's been assaulted. Her dad commented that it must be a misunderstanding, and poof, she disappeared. I remember reading about Carly's story, and as an autistic youth, I found it so inspiring and so amazing, even though my experience was really different than hers, just being underestimated, feeling trapped within her body, unable to communicate. And then she found this way to type, and everybody thought, oh, she has the intellect of a 6-year-old, she'll never amount to anything. And now she is writing, she's going on talk shows, she's funny. I remember reading her writings and her saying, I wish that I could talk to other people, I wish I could just go to the mall with my friends like other girls, I wish I could have a boyfriend, I wish people weren't scared of me, I wish I could communicate, I wish it didn't feel like my body was on fire all the time. It's really interesting and helpful to have somebody that could communicate that type of autism and that side of the disorder and what that means for somebody experiencing it. Because neurotypical studying individuals with profound autism are just going off of what they see. They don't know what it's like to be inside that individual. So to have that insight was really interesting and really valuable. She was also scared about getting doxxed, and she posted about how people were posting her address or trying to find her address. I really want to hear an update from Carly. So So as a little kid, there was all these flashcards around the house, you know, in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the living room. You know, there would be one like wash your hands and potty and, you know, eat your breakfast or like whatever. After school, I'd often have these ABA sessions, I think they were, with somebody, and we would look at more flashcards. I'd have to say words. There was a surprise box, and I'd put my hand in the surprise box and take out a toy. It was actually pretty okay. A lot of people say ABA is like torture. That wasn't my experience, but maybe the type of ABA I had was very different. I personally think it's a good thing to kind of expose your neurodivergent kids to things that make them uncomfortable. My growing up was somewhat dysfunctional. My parents were divorced, blah, blah, blah. No one had time for Caitlin's little autism. I had this thing where I was scared of houseflies, kind of like that dog cowboy on Instagram, that famous Doberman. Yes, like that. I was scared of houseflies. I would often go like this because I was scared of the houseflies because they were loud and they flew around everywhere. They're unpredictable. They would get in your face. It was sensory overload. I did not like them one little bit. The doors were always left open, and every summer I was like, oh, please close the doors. But I was just told, get over it. No one was like, oh my God, Caitlin's autistic and sensitive, and we need to make sure that this place is bug-proofed. No. If I was going to freak out about the flies, that was my problem, and it was my problem to get over it. If I don't get over it, I'm just going to have a miserable time forever, and that's nobody's problem but my own. I was also really scared of cheese. It's called turophobia. The fear of cheese has an actual name. Not only did I not want to eat cheese, I did not want to be in the same room as cheese. I did not want cheese touching my skin. I felt like if it made any kind of contact with me, I would be like infected somehow and never clean. Maybe I have OCD as well. I don't know. My older sister thought it'd be funny to put some cheese on my pants once, and I ran away and cried in my room for I don't even know how long, hours. And I was on like a play day too. I had some friends over, and it like ruined the play day. It was like a whole thing. I was not like forced to eat cheese, thank God. I had weird exceptions with cheese and still do. I'm still not a big fan of the orange cheddar cheese. That has always been like my biggest no-no. It just seems like the grossest, weirdest, unnatural looking thing. Just want nothing to do with it. Mozzarella is okay. Mozzarella has always been okay. It has to be melted. That was like ground zero. Mozzarella on pizza, melted, a-okay. But now I'm okay with a soft mozzarella, not necessarily melted, in a sandwich maybe, and like a Swiss melted. No hard cheeses though. No hard cheeses whatsoever. So it was like the Wild West. Nobody was making any excuses for my autism. I was more or less a latchkey kid. I was constantly being harassed. So this desensitized me a bit. It wasn't as weird as I could have been, and wasn't as weird as the really weird kids, the ones who usually hung out in the computer lab. But I also wasn't nearly as like neurotypical, passing, super social, wonderful gap. But I was no means a social butterfly and really didn't fit in with the neurotypical people, especially girls. Really didn't fit in with the girls, but didn't fit in with the boys either. Boys were too gruff. Wasn't sure about the boys. I sometimes was friends with gay men. I often ate lunch by myself. I was kind of weird. I rarely went over to other people's houses. I was not invited to birthday parties. My parents weren't super social either, so it's not like they had lots of friends over and I could mirror their social interactions or anything like that. I really just didn't know what a normal social situation really looked like and what was socially acceptable for the most part. I still don't really. I wasn't exposed to as many like group social interaction thingies, but my twin sister, she's quite social and she had lots of friends, so sometimes I would just be there while they were there, hang out with them, all that have you, make the situation awkward, you know. One summer she had some giant multi-day sleepover thing and it was just too much. I'm like, I'm going to my dad's. Like, I'm sorry, this is too much. I was there for one night. Now it's going on to two. It's too much. I need a break. Goodbye. Now I have a much better idea of what's socially acceptable, but I'm like, oh, that's so boring. How do you do it? Why don't people just get to the point? Why don't people just say how they feel? Why don't people just live their lives, be free, express themselves? Woo! Here's the thing. I kind of pretty much sort of know what's socially acceptable at this point in my life. But I'm not going to be good at executing that. I'm not going to be a little miss, you know, super social, woo-hoo-hoo. That's not going to be me. I'm not going to be good at that. I know what it is. I can't do it. So I might as well just do things my own weird kind of way and be myself, I think. Trying to be normal is not going to work for me. It's just not going to work. It's just square peg, round hole. So I might as well just go with my unique perspective and my unique way of looking at things and going about things and go with that. Maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know. I don't think so. Life's too short. So I might as well embrace my unique, possibly cringe perspective and hopefully not do anything too embarrassing. Like this YouTube video, probably shouldn't post this YouTube video, but I'm like, hey, you know, I also really didn't like clothing tags, like the tags on the back of pants, really didn't like those, but that's like Autism 101. Also socks, really did not like socks. Socks, yuck. So hopefully now you're fully aware of my autism, as it is Autism Awareness Month. Thanks for watching, bye!